All right, y'all, so it's one thing to be able to catch the bait, but the process does not stop there, especially depending on when you're planning on fishing. Keeping your bait in good condition is a big part of it. So we got the bait, but let's say we're not fishing till Saturday. All right, well, it's Tuesday, so we got a few days in between. I'm gonna show you what I do to keep my bait fresh. This is the secret weapon, if you will. Food saver bags, helps keep your bait alive for a lot. Well, not alive, it keeps your bait fresh. The towels are for wiping the bait off as we go. All right, so once you got your first seal on the bag, which we're just guesstimating size here. Like I said, the rag is just to try and mitigate the messiness. Go ahead, wipe them down. Now, most of the time, people when they're doing this, they'll catch it 2 days before like a tournament or they're gonna go fishing. And you can keep them on ice for roughly about 2-3 days max, but you gotta keep adding ice to it. The other thing to be aware of too is you don't want water touching your bait. So that's why you see a lot of guys, they'll leave the plug out of their cooler, or you'll see them buy like a cheap Dollar General cooler and they drill holes in the bottom of it. That's why they do it. They said we just try to wipe it down a little bit. Makes them a little easier to deal with. And this part, you don't necessarily have to do this part. It's just, in my opinion, it makes things way easier. Now it's up to you how many you want to put in the bag too. It all depends on the size. The vast majorities were caught from my buddy Aaron. I'm just gonna put somewhere between 8 and 10 if I can fit them per bag. I'm not really too worried about it. This is a little tidbit for shad. You typically, at least here in West Virginia, you got two types of shad. You got threadfin and these are gizzard. Threadfin are the little itty bitty tiny ones, like the ones you see in like Walmart that they dye green and stuff. Those are threadfin. These are gizzard shad, and this is like an average size gizzard shad. They can get much bigger than this, but this is what most people are wanting when it comes to using them for cut bait. And I got a couple bigger ones in here too. So gizzard shad, you can cast net both types of shad. You can dip net, gill net. There's all kinds of different ways to catch them depending on your state and what's legal. But the big thing to understand when you're looking for gizzard shad, especially once you start to get towards the summer, threadfin will go shallow and you'll actually see ripples on the water. Gizzard shad can be shallow or deep. Cast net's the best way to get them. Look for sewer discharges, anywhere with any kind of moving water. Moving water is a really good place to try and lock them down. And if you're on a boat, the easy way to identify them if you're in a shallow pool is take your cast net and actually drop the weight on the floor of your boat. That shock wave sometimes scares them and you'll see them break the surface. So you got options. I think that's probably roughly about all we're gonna get in that first bag. Get your bag sitting right. Lock her down. See, my seal didn't go so well, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that again. And it's kind of to be expected though, whenever you've got blood and guts and stuff working up into this. And you can use these food savers. You can get one on Amazon or Walmart, or most places you can get a cheap one for like 20 bucks. I am unfortunately using my parents, but mom told me it was okay, so. All right, so go ahead and check our seal. She's sealed up, good. That bag's ready to go. If you're catching your bait well ahead of time, you want it to last. This bait isn't going to be used for, I mean, solid couple days. Hence why we're doing all this prep work. If I had caught this bait 2 days later, then we'd be fine. We would just keep them on ice. But where we're so far ahead of schedule, we got to take extra steps. Now, one thing I will say, I strongly recommend, like, even though I'm vac sealing these, I'm not gonna put these in a freezer. I'm gonna keep them on a salt and ice mix. And if you don't know, so the salt and ice mix, all it does is it more or less flash freezes whatever's in your cooler. That really helps with trying to keep things in good condition. Because with shad, the second that you catch these, if you don't put them on ice, and this is any bait really, if you don't put them on ice, timer's ticking before decay sets in. And even after you've done all this prep work I've done, the timer's still going. Even if you put them in the freezer and you freeze them solid, that bait's not gonna be any count in a couple months. If you ask me to put a hard number on it, I would say once you do everything I'm doing here, and then you freeze it in your freezer, this bait's good for maybe a month. Maybe a month. After a month, it just gets so squishy and soft, and there's nothing you can do with it at that point. The only thing that you can do with any kind of cut bait, once it gets soft like that, is if you're lucky, you can typically still use the heads. I don't catch and keep anything that I'm not gonna use. The only reason I have so many here is because I caught these from my buddy Aaron. My buddy Aaron, my buddy Brent, that one's a little too big to put in there with those, so we're gonna sit him right there for right now. And the cool part about it is anything that's left over after their tournaments, then yeah, I'll take home and I'll freeze, because I prefer fresh bait. I think every fisherman does. However, if you can't get fresh bait, you work with what you got. 'Cause if you're going fishing and you catch your bait that day, you're golden. You don't have to worry so much about prep. I'd still put it on ice. Make sure you got the plug out of your cooler, or make sure you got a cheap cooler that you're cool with drilling holes in the bottom of it so there's never water in it. The more work you put into keeping your bait good, the longer your bait will last. And if you're on limited time frames like me most of the time, you don't always get the time to go and run and catch bait every single time. Days like today are a blessing. And I owe it to my dad, really. He was working near or around where we catch these, and he sent me a video of him standing in front of them, and I haven't seen shad run like this in years. So it's been a really good year so far, which is good, because after the Canal River froze solid, I assumed we were gonna have a bad shad kill. And just as extra precaution, like I mentioned before, because where it's sucking slime and blood and stuff, I'll typically hit it a second time on the seal. Those little steps like that, man, they go a long way in prolonging your bait. If you're gonna do it the way I'm doing it, my recommendation, don't buy the pre-built food saver bags, just buy the rolls and cut them to size. I think you get more bang for your buck with the rolls than you do buying the pre-cut bags. That's pretty much it though, man. You just rinse, repeat, wipe them down, put them in the bag, seal them, and then put them back on ice or freeze them, depending on, like I said, what you're doing that day. A few simple steps can go a really long way. But hope you got something out of this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit a like, subscribe, comment. You know the deal. But that's gonna do it for this one. Stay bench, y'all. We'll see you on the next one.